Who
and a
wants
little
to
clappy
do a
there.
clap? Yeah.
Do you want a little clappy? We can both do a clappy.
Done. Love it. Okay, cool. Well, I'll do my to camera thing, and then we'll just go.
Okay.
Cool. All right, here we go. Welcome, everyone, to a brand new episode of the Theatre Thoughts podcast. We have two amazing guests on today who I'm very, very excited to talk about 60 Musical with. We have a triple threat performer who graduated from the Western Australian Academy of Performing Arts Music Theatre program. She's toured nationally in the adaptation of Baz Luhrmann's Strictly Ballroom, the reimagination of King Kong, as well as the originating role of Jane Seymour in the touring production of 60 Musical. She's back once more playing Jane Seymour on stage in both Australia as well as Aotearoa, New Zealand. It's Loren Hunter.
Hello. Can I wave to camera?
Of course you may.
Hi, guys.
Be good for the YouTube. Come watch us on YouTube.
For the YouTubes.
And then, of course, we have another triple threat performer from the Queensland Conservatorium of Griffith University's Bachelor of Music Theatre program. It's a mouthful.
That's a mouthful.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh.
They are hot off playing Anita in Handa Opera's production of West Side Story and Gigi in Cameron Mackintosh's Miss Saigon for Opera Australia, for which she was nominated for a Green Room Award. She's also originated roles in Australia, including the role of Brianna in the original Australian production of Fangirls, big favourite, and is now taking on the first of the six queens, Catherine of Aragon. It's Kimberley Hodgson.
Hi.
Thank you so much, both of you, for joining me and coming for a chat.
Thank
We're very excited to be here. We
Yeah.
love it. We were just talking about that.
Yeah.
We love the Q&As. We love
Yeah.
the podcast.
Love a good chat.
Yeah, love a good chatty
Yeah.
Cathy's,
Yes.
one would say.
It's good. Well, I haven't had a podcast episode in a while, and as soon as six came across the table, I was like, well, of course I'm going to come out for six.
Of course.
I managed to see you in Melbourne. When was it? Last month, I think.
Yes.
Sorry, it's December now, so October.
Yeah.
I was in Melbourne. I was like, I have to see six because I wasn't here for the Sydney opening. And I was like, I'm going to have to see the new cast, and you're all phenomenal.
Thank
It's amazing.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for coming all the way down to Melbourne.
Yeah.
I was just in their neighbourhood, you know.
Gorgeous little trip.
Yeah.
Trip.
Yeah, a little weekender.
Oh.
It was really good because I remember it was during a rain where it was storming, and one of you did a line that was very dramatic.
No, I was thinking about this last
Yeah,
night.
yeah.
It was
It was
Pa.
Pa's,
And
Yeah.
she goes, and she said, I remember this distinctly because she was talking only last night about the Q&A.
Yeah.
And how these like things happen sometimes that are very like synchronicity
Yes.
sort of vibes. And she was like, and I had to write a letter to Thomas. Boom.
Yeah.
Ending things.
Yeah.
And I was like,
It was so
Drama.
weird. Yeah.
So hooky spooky.
I know,
it was
right?
spookums,
Yeah.
spookums.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just one of these things. I was
Spooky
like,
spookums.
spookums. It just really added to everything. Well, before I guess we go too much into six, I'd love to learn more about you both because I just went through like a tiny bit of your careers, but you guys have done so much on the scene. You queens, sorry, have done so much on the scene. So, who would love to talk about themselves
You
first?
go first, Kimmy.
Okay. So yes, I graduated from the Conservatorium of Music in 2013, and since then, have been working on some pretty incredible stuff.
And working consistently.
It's been pretty consistent. Yeah, I've been very lucky. That the shows that have come along have been suitable for me and that I've absolutely loved doing. And I've been a part of some new works, and I've been a part of some big commercial,
Big ones.
cookie cutter kind of shows. I think Aladdin was my longest one. I did 2.5 years on that one. That was the first time I ever left a job without having
Anything to go.
Oh, wow.
Well, you'd been on it for quite some time.
I had been on it for a long
Yeah.
time. And I mean, to do a show, I had a really hard dancing track in that show, and I was pretty enthusiastic about that at the time, and then
your body's paying
then your
for it
body,
tonight.
yeah.
Tonight,
I'm still paying for it
like,
now
that
to
time,
this
that
day.
show.
Oh,
Yeah.
we're all nursing those things.
Still,
Jeez. Yeah.
our bodies have those scars that will just stay with us forever. My feet are so sore, but it was, it was an incredible learning experience for me. Well, I also just feel the pressure of like proving to myself that I am still worthy of working. I don't know.
Right.
I don't
Yeah.
know if that's.
No, that's really.
I think that's the expectation I put on myself.
Yeah,
I'm a
right.
very hard worker.
Very much.
And you've
Yeah.
worked on like two different types of stages as well, all the way from Belvoir to Handa Opera.
Yeah.
You know, on the harbour.
Yeah,
That's massive.
Yeah, it's huge. And I do like to. I do like a challenge. I feel like my attitude towards the challenges as I'm getting older is the frame of mindset is a little bit different. But I now look in hindsight at the things that I've done, and I truly give myself a bit of a pat on the back because I have done things that I really don't think I ever imagined I would have been able to do.
Yeah.
Truly,
Yeah.
really questioning my ability, and I'm like, I don't know why they've actually making me do this because I don't know if I can do it.
Do you look back on those ones now and you go, well, I couldn't do it now?
Oh yeah.
Like, I look back at where I was, and it's only, like, sure, you could do it now, but I look back on moments that I go, oh, that was a very specific time of my life that I could only produce that amount, like that work,
Yes.
Right,
or
gotcha.
create that in that little pocket
Yeah,
of life.
yeah.
Do you feel that?
Absolutely. I did.
Yeah,
The
right.
the Handa on the opera, the Handa. What's it
Handa
called?
Opera on
That one.
Sydney Harbour. Yes.
I should know what it is. I've done it twice.
What is it?
What is Handa Opera on the harbour?
Is that the one with West Side and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and
in
that's what
Sydney
they call
Harbour. Handa Opera on Sydney Harbour.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's
Yes.
what the
It's like a sub company, isn't it? Of
I believe so.
Opera.
I believe
I
so.
understand.
So I did the production of West Side Story 5 years ago.
Oh, 5 years now.
Yes,
Wow.
5 years ago, and I was in the ensemble and I covered Anita,
Yeah.
and then I played the role 5 years on. But I truly, energetically and emotionally, I don't feel like I would have been able to do the role
Then.
justice
Right,
if I
gotcha.
were to do it back then
Yeah.
compared to now. But then it's kind of a double-edged sword where my body has aged a lot in 5 years.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it was an opportunity that I had a lot of doubt. I had a lot of down in myself and my capabilities because I just didn't know if my body would be able to do it.
Yeah.
But my mind and my soul wanted to tell the story,
That's
and it was
beautiful.
ready to tell the story, and
Yeah.
so it was a great challenge in that way.
And speaking of roles, I mean, you, Jane Seymour. I was about to call you Jane, and I was like, that's not your name. Because you played it from the start, and
Yes.
you're incredible at it as
Oh, I
well.
appreciate
remember
that.
because I've seen you do it at the Opera House Theatre
When did you
Royal.
see it at the Opera House first?
It was not when you first had the original cast.
Mm-hmm,
I think it was just after you came back from COVID,
Yep,
in that
yep.
21 gap.
Yep.
Yeah, and then at the Theatre Royal, and then I saw in Melbourne as well. And
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
every time you do something different with
Mm-hmm,
it. It's not massive differences, but it's enough to change the entire perspective, which I find fascinating.
Yes. And funnily enough, like the reason why I asked you if you'd seen the first one is that that was almost like the training I had to do it then
Yeah.
the second and the third time.
Right, got you.
So my experience on it the first time, I was highly anxious, really struggled with performance anxiety. I have so many stories in that 3 month, time where we did it that, and then I had, obviously COVID had happened and I was able to go home, and it's not lost on me that, COVID was crazy for a lot of people and really hard, but I was very grateful to be able to be with my family at that time, and I just really needed it. Like my whole entire career sort of caught up with me at that time.
Yeah, wow.
And to be with my family for, what was it, like a year and a half was just the best thing that possibly could have happened. And so then coming back to it, I was like, well, I don't want it to be like that. I want it to actually be really enjoyable.
Yeah.
Because why else am I doing
Yeah,
this?
exactly. Yeah.
Yes, my whole entire career helped me with these moments and all of that, but actually it was the first time that I did it that really switched it up of how I actually wanted to approach it the second and third time.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
fascinating.
Yeah.
No way.
And I've got, I guess there's so many stories about that time. It was just I was doing The Artist's Way at the time. That first,
That's a great book.
oh gosh,
Who
it
wrote
changed
that
my
again?
life.
Who wrote that again?
Julia Cameron is
Yeah.
her
Okay.
name, and
Yeah.
it's a 12-week course. I literally, it comes up every time I speak about sex
Yeah, right.
because it was such an integral time in my, and I guess my creative, what am I trying to say?
Creative
Like
approach.
and who I want to be as a creator. It sounds so I don't want to use the word wanky, but I just did.
Yeah.
But it does sound like that. But it really just changed the game for me. So it's something that a course that you take yourself through yourself.
Yeah.
So and that I did over the entire period. It literally ended the moment I was driving back up to Brisbane.
Incredible.
And so it was like this sort of gift that I gave myself.
Yeah.
To be like, all right, use all of the things that you learned then to change it up so that you're not having to be anxious, because that's really not serving the story.
No.
And it happens to a lot of performers. And I mean, and also to answer your question, like I've had considerable breaks in between doing this show, and you know, we're all changing all the time, and I'm not the same person as I was, you know, when I did it the first time, when I did it the second time, when I did it the third time, and all of those things that I've experienced, whether it's overseas trips or things like that, like I knew it was going to come up, but I walked the Camino last year.
The Camino?
And I can hear all the girls at work going, oh, did you walk the Camino? Because I always talk about it.
Can you give context of the Camino?
Context. Camino is, there's actually a few walks you can do that are called the Camino, but the specific one that I did is called the French Way, and it's from the south of France, and you walk all the way across Spain to Santiago.
I know this. One of my friends did this.
Yes.
He was talking to me about it.
Yes, and so
It's so
I walked
impressive.
that last year in August. It was 800 kilometres over 36 days.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Okay.
then that brought a whole new meaning to the song,
Yeah.
really.
Incredible.
So just those things.
Yeah.
That's what actually helps fuel your art,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah. There was we had a Q&A last night. And
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
in
yeah,
the in the show.
after the show last
okay,
night.
right.
And Talia, one of our swings, mentioned something really incredible. I think also the beauty is of you being a swing when you when you can step away from a role for a little bit and then you come back to it and then you all of a sudden surprise yourself with feeling like, oh, I'm just like there's
This
things
song
that
means something different.
and
yeah.
I think very much just along the lines of that is that like we live our regular lives and things happen in our lives, and what we say might all of a sudden, like, words are coming out of your mouth that you've said how many times, like for months and months and months, and then all of a sudden
It means something different.
they're coming out of your mouth and you're consciously realizing in the moment, I've never pieced,
That's
and
fascinating.
then it just redirects your
Entire story.
Yeah.
An entire experience of
Yeah.
that song. It's wild.
It's
no?
wild, and I think that's I think what's so beautiful about live theatre, and I feel like for this show in particular, there's so much
Creative
liberty
freedom.
in that,
I bet.
Which and you know, people ask me all the time. Sorry to cut you off,
No,
but
yeah, of
people ask
course.
me all the time, like, you know, how do you keep it fresh? That they like creatives will say to you, like, this is your moment, this is your time. Like, bring as much as you can to the role as possible.
Lovely. Well, that was very meaningful, very deep. And I loved every single segment.
Oh,
of
we
it.
get to the nitty gritty real quick around here.
Jumped in there. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a quick little ad break, and
Yes.
then we'll do our theatre thoughts questions.
Great.
Theatre thoughts.
All right, here we go. What has been your favourite production you've seen recently?
I don't have time to see a lot of things, because we're working.
Because
But I was swung out, and I did see 6.
Oh wow.
And and this is no bias.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to explain this?
Yeah. Go.
You
Yeah.
must.
I had the biggest amount of FOMO that I
Oh,
think
wow.
I have ever had being swung out of a show
Yeah.
was when I was swung out to see the Queens do their thing. I hadn't seen the production since the Opera House version, the very, very first version that you all,
you
that you
saw
all
that
did.
one.
I saw the very, very, very first one.
Wow.
So this was many, 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 many years ago.
Yeah.
And I'm not a real theatre geek. Like, I won't really look into things. I
No,
won't
I feel like
watch
we're
a lot of
both
things.
musical theatre frauds.
Yeah, I'm a fraud. I'm an absolute fraud. I know nothing about nothing. Do you know what I mean? I know nothing about nothing. Don't ask me.
The brief will come in
Tell
and
you.
go,
Oh, well,
what's
no,
this,
know
this
about
about?
that.
What does that mean?
Yes,
What's
that's
that mean?
cats.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm a big fraud. So when I was swung out and I saw everyone, when I saw what I was a part of, and to feel it from the other side, I just thought, I can't believe I'm a part of something that can make people feel like this. And I was so proud. I'm getting like chilly just thinking about it. I'm like, I'm
it's so
so
beautiful.
proud of like, it's not often. I know I'm getting emotional. Why am I getting emotional? I get so proud of things that I'm like, this is great. Like, you know, there's so much stuff that's just out there that are just, you know, making money for people and like, yeah, sure,
They
there's
forget
that.
the story.
They forget the power of what
Story.
it is that we're actually doing and the stories that we're telling and it seems, I don't know, trivial that I'm like this, but I honestly was so proud to just see what we are doing every day, and I just had the biggest like FOMO moment of like, I can't wait to do my next show and be up there and just do
you
it.
continually, you know, bring that to the table every night, Kimmy.
Oh, that's nice.
And I really, I'm honestly behind you, you know, like when you're doing your monologue, and I'm so thrilled that you're up there.
Oh.
That must be really special to have those moments on stage where you kind of step out because you're like watching, you know, someone do a number and you're just admiring it.
I think I admire, you know, your 100% commitment to it. And I respect that.
Oh.
Yeah. And I have a lot of fun with that as well, like behind you.
So
Like,
good. So good.
my boyfriend, like, my boyfriend tries to do this.
What's that?
Lotus. And I'm like, yeah, Kimmy.
Oh, so cute. So that's my favourite
That
thing
is a
that
great
I've
answer.
seen, so.
Now, what was the question again?
Your favourite production you've seen recently?
You know what? It's not recent.
Okay,
but
that's
when
fine.
it came up when I read this. I got to see The Colour Purple in New York.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Please, if you say that was with Cynthia Erivo.
Yes, I
I'm
did.
going, get out.
No way.
I got to see it. And I kid you not, I still think about it today.
Incredible. That is
I have never
jealousy.
experienced a moment like that in theatre ever.
Yeah.
Where her voice just like nailed me to the chair. Like I can't even explain it. And the journey she took you on, I am in awe, and I will never forget that.
Yeah.
It was so, I was so grateful.
That's incredible.
I have a lot of gratitude that I was able to experience her.
Well, I mean, I saw, obviously, the Wicked movie recently.
Oh.
Don't even get us started.
I mean, we're going to change
we're-
this to...
we're going to
Wicked.
talk about it.
This
but-
is part 2.
Okay.
But she sung The Wizard and I.
Yes.
And like, I appreciate The Wizard and I. I think it's just as good a song as Defying Gravity. And in the movie, when she started singing, I'm going to tear up thinking about it.
No, you
I
must.
got chills.
Yes.
Because her voice is just so pure, so effortless. And when she started singing the first couple of notes of Wizard and I started tearing up. I was like, we're 10 minutes into the movie, you know?
I think it's also what she is such a smart actor. And that's so, like, you hear that, it's so trite. You hear that all the time, but it's beyond her voice.
Yeah.
I think it's her entire entity. You know, I feel like she's just magic, and she was born to do things like this, but she brings to life story. She makes story the most important thing, and then her voice, not necessarily that it's secondary, but it's the way that those two things collide that you're like,
definitely.
Oh, you're it.
Yeah.
You're it.
How incredible. What a story to tell. Well, I mean, I saw
you tell me.
Bach play SpongeBob, so, you know.
Hey, that's good too.
I only realised it the other day because I remember seeing SpongeBob. I was like, oh, that was a silly show. And then I remembered that it was him, and I was like, oh, that's right. I've seen him do that role. Okay. I'd love to know what the most rewarding theatre experience you've had is.
I have 2 moments, but I'll just pick one.
No,
Shall I?
You can do
darling.
No, I'll just say one. I'll say one.
Okay.
So there was, I did Frozen,
Oh, yeah.
and I was understudy for Princess Anna. And one of the most rewarding moments, I think, I spent a long time of my career in the ensemble and understudying up until the past couple of years. And so there was a lot of doubt in myself and like, oh, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe this will be the rest of my career for the rest of time.
Yeah, right.
And there was
What, being an understudy?
Yeah. And I had a moment when I debuted for the role. And we were playing at the Capitol Theatre.
Yep.
And I remember walking out of stage door. So it wasn't even the performance itself. I walked out of stage door and I could just see all these little Asian Annas dressed up in their costume.
Kimmy.
No wigs, no nothing. They just had that beautiful
That's
dark hair
gorgeous.
hanging out. Same as me. I took my wig prep out and I just had my hair out. Walked out of stage door and I see all these little Asian princess Annas literally everywhere. And I said, this is just
Wild.
like the best. Like they don't even know what has just happened for themselves.
Yeah.
And maybe they will if it was enough of a moment for them to remember that and, you know, look back at that moment and be like, oh, remember that time that we like saw someone that was like just like us up there doing something that you would see on the movie that you had no idea would ever be you, and you just saw you up there. And I thought, oh, that's what is the most rewarding part. It's not actually booking a role and like
It's not
doing
seeing
it.
the
It's
notes
not,
that you need to
no, it's not any of that.
Yeah.
It's not booking that job. It's not, it's not being applauded. It actually has nothing to do with that. But that moment for me was probably one of the most rewarding moments of my career at that time, and probably to date.
That's
I'm like,
so
I
good.
have the power to do that. I can.
Yes.
I have the power to step in and do something that can change someone's life.
That's beautiful. That's a really good one.
That's
a very good one.
Hard to, hard to go
So
after
yes,
that.
what's yours?
Look, mine is a very ego-driven moment, but I was doing Liza Minnelli, Boy from Oz, in the production company a couple of years ago now, and I spent most of the rehearsal period going, I think I'm onto something, but I'm not sure. I wasn't sure if I was like sort of hitting the marks or anything like that. And we did our family and friends, and I was like, well, I just have to be okay with the fact that it's shit. I just have to be okay that it's just not very good.
Yeah, right.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
And I walked out and, you know, said hello to my friends, and they gave me the most beautiful response. And it's not about the validation. I will say that. To me now, I'm like, you know, for me, it's like about the work. But in that moment, it meant a lot to me that maybe I was onto something after all, and that they were just like, how did you do that? Anyway, opening night comes around, and it was the first opening night of my career that I have felt, oh, this is what they talk about, like with like flow state.
Yes, yes.
Like I'd started meditating quite a couple months before, and I was just completely, there's that abandon that you feel of like, I'm not even in control of this. It sounds weird, but it just sort of happened.
Yeah.
And I remember feeling like, oh, this is why I do what I do.
Yeah.
In terms of like feeling that sort of abandon, and it's not actually about me. It's about bringing the story as best as I can to life.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
So
those are very good answers.
Yeah.
I
And
love
then
both
and then I got a review after that was like
Oh my god.
it was awful. I was like, oh, maybe I should look at the reviews to
Don't
see.
ever
No.
look at reviews.
Darling,
Bloody reviewers. Who needs
oh,
them?
Wait,
Don't look
1
at 'em.
second. This was also not a rewarding experience, but a very important lesson.
Yeah, right.
Whereby I was like, I'll just like look it up. Maybe I've been getting some nice feedback, you know. And I looked it up. Loren Hunter's Liza Minnelli was a limp caricature.
Oh, get out. That's
and
awful.
I went, close. Exit.
Oh.
Called Kelly Abbey, who is still to this day one of the best mentors I've ever had. And she was talking about how in Sweet Charity, when she did it for Australia, in one city, like say it was Melbourne, it was like Kelly Abbey, the best things to hit Australia, right? Then in Melbourne, where were we? Melbourne. And then in Sydney, I can't remember which way it went, but then in Sydney, she was like the worst thing to ever hit Australia. She goes, do not listen to them. And since then, and that was back in 2016, 2017 or something like that, I've never read a review.
Yeah, good.
And my dad, love you, Dad. but we'll constantly. Have you read any of the reviews? And every time I'll say, Dad, I do not read reviews, but I will read the ones that are good.
Yeah.
If you send them to me,
send the good ones.
Send
Send a good one.
You know?
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, I mean, that's how I started this. I started with reviewing, and I still do it. But I've
Hmm.
never wanted to be one of those people that sits there and gets their jollies off by going, oh, they were bloody terrible. You know.
Well, it's a weird thing, right? Because I do think there is some value in critique.
Yeah, I think it's the way you say it is the right
Yes.
way.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
I think I wrote one recently that said that something about the character was great, but the way that it was written was a missed opportunity. But it wasn't about them; it was just the character was just a missed
Yeah.
opportunity,
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
developed.
Yeah.
But I wasn't going to say like they were a waste of space or
They
something
were a
like
limp
that.
caricature.
Yeah, limp caricature.
That's terrible.
But I just remember just being like, but it was just so vastly different to the feedback that I'd gotten as well. So I was like,
Yeah.
oh, so maybe he was having an off day, or maybe it was right.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Nah.
But I just took away so much from that experience as a whole that I was just like, oh,
Yeah.
whatever.
Beautiful.
It is what it is.
Well, the final question, and my
Yes.
favourite one, is I'd love to know which production you'd most want to see come to Australia.
You go.
Waitress.
Waitress!
Yeah, we can both be in it.
Yes.
Yes!
We'll be available.
Did you audition for the first one?
Yes.
So did I.
Yes, I think I was down to
Still
me
on
and someone
hold.
else. I'm still on
Amazing.
hold too, but I did get the email that it was going to be cancelled, which makes me
Yes.
think I was very close to the
Yes.
Well, yes, I think I was on hold at the time, and then anyway, neither
That's
here nor
right. So I
there.
know like parts of the story from talking to so many people. I know that it was going to come. I didn't know it actually auditioned. though.
Yeah, we all
Yeah.
auditioned.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
We all got to the end.
This was before COVID, wasn't it? Or
Yes,
was it during?
it was. No, it was before
It was
COVID.
before COVID.
Yeah.
Way before COVID.
Interesting.
I was in Melbourne at the time. Yeah, but yeah, Waitress was a good one.
It is a
Yeah.
great show. Yeah, it's
It's
a beautiful
great
show.
show.
I also
isn't
saw that with Jessie Muir.
Did
When I
you?
was
Did
in
you?
New
I
York at the time.
I saw it with Shoshana Bean.
Oh,
it? Oh wow.
Yes,
that's still
also very
fantastic.
good. Yeah.
Yeah. I can't remember who I was.
Yeah.
Isn't that rude?
It was good. That was good. I was like, ooh.
Yeah,
The
that'd do very
music.
well.
I
The
think so. The music is
music.
incredible.
Yeah.
The story, awesome.
Yeah.
Like, it's just so, like...
I don't reckon it'd be far away because I mean, if you have a look at the slate of next year, we've got a whole bunch of new shows coming, which hopefully producers are finally listening. You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, you never know.
You
You
never
never know.
Yes.
You never know.
Well,
We're ready.
ready to go.
Hire us.
Everything changes.
We're
We'll
that
put
good
as
now.
much vibrato in there next time. Straight tone.
So good. Well, let's swing it back to Six then. Okay,
Yeah.
so you are both playing, obviously, two Queens of Six. Kimberley, you're playing Catherine of Aragon.
Yes.
And Loren, you're obviously playing Jane Seymour. So I was picking up little things here and there when you were talking about telling the story, the importance of telling the story. And when I spoke to Vidya when she was in it, she was talking about like, all this stuff that her character did. Like she was like one of the first women to write this book, but then the women writing these books over here, and I was just like, oh my god, I've done your research.
Oh,
It
yeah,
was
yeah.
full on. And I have a friend who's a massive Six fan. I think she's seen it like 30 times or something. She's met, Toby Marlowe, Lucy Moss at some stage in her life, and she's a massive scholar when it comes to the Queens. So I'd love to know how much is you and how much is you telling the story.
That's such a good question.
I would say, for me, and this is something that I do with any character I approach, I try to instill about 80% of myself.
100%.
And then 20% just a layer of spirit of the person that I am,
Portraying.
Yeah.
I would say 100% myself. Because in order for me to bring the story to life in a truthful, honest, authentic way, that is all me.
Yeah.
And yes, I have to think about the stakes of, the character and where she was at and those sort of things. But I'm not her. And the best way I can possibly bring it to life is through me, I guess, in a way. Yeah.
I mean, that's the great thing about, some of the histories of these women were wiped. And so, but I feel like for me, there's a decent amount of information that I could go through.
It's
And
24 years that you were there.
exactly. And I just feel like that's a lot to put in
Condense
into a song and
Yeah.
a couple of scenes
Yeah,
that are just
exactly.
peppered with
Yeah.
a few facts. And I think that there's so much more, and there's so much that actually should be celebrated for Catherine of Aragon. I think she did a lot more than what we actually
People assume.
people
Yeah.
assume, and what we actually hear in the show. And
Yeah.
and I think that in itself, and maybe not even being able to celebrate some of the incredible things that she did by saying it in the scenes, I think is enough to drive me as a person
Yeah.
to really fuel the importance of her presence in this story and
Yeah.
how she's portrayed.
Yeah,
100%.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, the stakes are really important as well, obviously. Like, I've obviously, I'm not a mum. I've not had to say goodbye to my child. I don't know what that's like, but I often do, like, it's as if, like, just the old, acting 101. Like,
Yeah.
it's as if this is happening in real time, and sometimes that just is so helpful.
Yeah, definitely.
I have this this quote. Actually, it's Elizabeth I, who is the daughter of Anne Boleyn,
Yes. Yes.
and I'm going to butcher it, but it's something along the lines of, "I may be like a feeble and weak woman, but I have the heart and stomach of a king."
Ooh.
And it was basically it's not basic. It was a speech that she said to the people,
Amazing.
maybe before a particular war.
Yeah, it
But
sounds like a war speech.
and that immediately I feel the weight of the world on my shoulders.
Wow.
Like when I read that. And these women would have.
Yes.
They were
Yes.
queens, for goodness sake, and just that weight and that you had to, even if you were just a little bit fearful or scared, you had to pretend.
Yeah, it was that real mask a lot of them put on, wasn't it?
Particularly in that time.
Yes, very much
So high stakes,
Yes.
so
Yeah.
I
Living that life, especially under someone like the king was at the
where
time.
you could be
you
like,
know?
all right, well, I'm done with you. You can
Yeah,
be beheaded.
yeah, exactly. One
there's
view, gone.
so much pressure there.
Yeah,
So yeah, when I remember reading that quote, and I think it was just a tech, but I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna like see what comes of like that feeling that I felt with reading this thing, and it was just so much more like dense. You'll still find stone, all of those things. Like it's almost like I imagined that I was Elizabeth I for a second.
Yeah.
Whatever helps.
yeah, whatever helps to
know?
get you there.
Yeah.
Do you think also that's why everyone has their favourites? Their favourite Jane Seymour, their favourite Catherine,
Oh yeah.
because the
Absolutely.
performer gives it just like something unique, and no two are the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think like again, like circling back to what Talia said about like where I'm at in my life, it's where they're at in their life as well. If someone's just heard someone's just gone through a breakup, maybe Heart of Stone is something that they need to hear. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
So I think it depends on where each person or each audience member is at in their lives.
Yeah.
Like growing up, I'm just thinking about the Spice Girls. I really loved sport, and I loved, so I was the sporty Spice. You always just sort of, you relate to it in whatever way you are
At that time.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask a question which kind of ties to the one I wanted to ask about working with the Queens. But you and Chelsea now are obviously like the resident Queens.
Resident.
You know?
Yes.
And you've seen a lot of other amazing performers come into the role. So what is it like seeing the dynamic shift per cast, like with each cast?
I mean, it's awesome. First and foremost, but what it is great for, selfishly, is keeping it fresh.
Yeah.
Because you have different energies, you're meeting people for the first time sometimes, and you're basically recreating the show with a whole new bunch of people, which is just, refreshing. And not to say that I didn't have fun with the last two casts, love them, but it just keeps it, what have we got? You know?
I think you can tell as an audience member, because there was definitely a different energy when I saw it in October. It was just different. I couldn't put my finger on it, but I was like, it's the new cast. It's this new makeup of people.
Yeah.
Like Loren's here, Chelsea's here, but then all these new people are here. And it's just totally different.
And I liken it to like, you've got obviously family and friends, and you have a different version of yourself with those.
All the time.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, all the time.
It's like that acting, I will this has a point, but I do a acting exercise at class sometimes where you have to pick up the phone and just you're acting it out. You're not actually calling these people, but it's a exercise in like what difference of parts of yourself you show to different people.
Oh, yes.
And
yes,
so,
yes.
it doesn't surprise me that you're like, I saw it and I didn't know what's different. It's because Kimmy sees a different part to me than, say, maybe Phoenix sees a different part to me. And that, it's no better or worse. It's just different.
No, exactly. It's just this different quality that brings different energy
Correct.
to the show, different characters.
Yeah.
It's
And then
fascinating.
that makes it just, it's like, oh, here's a different side of Jane Seymour I've never experienced.
Yeah.
Because that's what Kimmy's Aragon brings out in me, or GK's Pa, or vice versa.
Yeah.
And I think very similarly with even just the swings going on, like that, having one person,
course.
it
Yeah.
shifts the dynamic tremendously.
Yeah.
I think it's incredible how much even just one person shifts the
and
dynamic.
it really makes you go, oh, listen.
Keeps on your
listen.
toes, I think.
The best.
Yeah.
It's the best.
it's
For
the
me, you know, having done it for so long, it's the best.
Yeah.
I don't know how you
Oh,
feel.
no,
Well,
I
yeah,
love
I was
it.
going to ask, what was
love
it like stepping into the role? You know?
Look, we learned the show quite quickly.
Yes, it was very
so-
quick, wasn't it?
Yes.
I thought that.
Yeah. 3 and a bit weeks. I was, to be honest, I've said this in another podcast that I've done, but I was a bit hesitant to audition for the show because I was like, well, it looks like the girls have to work pretty hard because it's like production number, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, they made it look easy, but you
Yeah.
as a performer, you're like, hang on, I know.
Yeah.
I know
know,
what's
you're
actually
not
Hang on a
Stop.
second.
You're not
You don't
stop.
leave
You're
the
not
stage.
You barely go off for a quick change.
Yeah.
You might have time for a sips and then you got to go back on.
Yeah.
So we learnt the show quite quickly, and I will admit that despite all of the years of work that I have had kind of under my belt, there were definite moments of panic and really feeling flooded with this
Information.
and
of
the
course.
dense choreography and the pop singing too.
Yes.
And I just come from like kind of a legit, you know.
Yeah, but you can do it all. Can you?
Yeah.
With your
It's
eyes
very
closed.
kind.
Yeah.
It's very kind. But it was all very overwhelming. And I'm very grateful that now I'm at a place where I'm definitely having a lot more fun because I know it. But it was a shock just realizing the enormity of what 6 is and how much is in that 80 minutes of showtime that we do.
I think I enjoy that when I see shows on repeat. If I see a show once, I take it all in. It's the same thing I do with a movie. I take it all in. Then I see it a second time, and I look at like the actors at the front. And then I see it a third time, and I'll look at the ensemble. And
Yeah.
the fourth time, I'll take in all the tech stuff.
Yeah.
And so seeing it, and I think it was a moment where I saw it recently. I was paying attention to the choreography this time, and I was like, every moment, everyone is doing something. And I think it was Sharon Millichip who said something about
Love that
the
one.
microphones.
Can we take one for Australia?
Yeah, I
Sorry.
mean-
I adore Sharon.
She's amazing.
She cracks us open like eggs.
Yeah.
I'll always say it.
Really?
She really is such a fantastic director.
Yeah.
She'll
Oh.
just give us not even a full sentence. She'll just be like, "Hey, blah la 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 la," and then we'd be like,
Yeah, she's we're very lucky
So
to
lucky.
have her.
Yeah.
Anyway,
"Sorry."
No,
Finish
that's
your
all right.
thought.
It was I adore her as well because
Yeah.
I had her on the podcast talk about a show she was doing at Ensemble, and
Yeah.
I said this to her because I had to, and I was like, I saw you perform as Belle when I was like this big, and I was like, you were the first show I ever saw. You were the first like Belle, and this was a very full circle moment that I had her sitting down on the podcast interviewing her, and I was like, I'm sorry, I just have to say this. And it was very full on.
do you know
Yeah.
that she won a Helpman Award
Yeah.
for both Velma
And Roxy.
And Roxy with both of them.
She's phenomenal.
Isn't that insane?
I mean,
Love it.
phenomenal.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But yes, she said something about the microphone placement, I think, and something about how.
Oh, the
each
microphone
year-
has its own choreography.
Yes, and I
Yes.
was gobsmacked by that.
Yes,
I was
it
like,
truly
what do you
does.
mean it's got its own choreography?
And
You're just grabbing it.
No,
But no.
and it's different for each queen.
Yes.
Each queen has their own micography.
That's incredible.
Oh yeah, it's a whole routine in itself. So on top of learning the intricate choreography that you're doing, you then have to manage this microphone.
Mm.
And it's not a fake microphone. It's
It's a real
It's a
deal.
real deal.
Yeah.
You don't put that up there, no one will hear you.
Yeah.
Oh,
Amazing.
but we love it.
Amazing.
But of course.
But of course.
But it's intricate.
But it is
Well, that brings
Yeah.
me to the question that I'd love to finish off with. I'd love to know some behind the show stories. If you have any good little nuggets or
Do
yes,
So once that starts,
yeah,
she cannot get off that train.
okay,
And
right,
it's wordy. Again,
Yeah.
it's intricate,
Timed.
yes.
timed.
Oh wow.
So you
okay.
have to like say the lines between. I think it's actually I've counted the other day. It was like 4 bars of 4.
Yeah.
You right? Am I
Yeah,
right?
for the majority
Yeah.
of it. Yeah.
So
Incredible.
each sort of section of dialogue.
Whilst keeping it fresh and new.
Yes,
Yep,
yes,
and
yep. Adding that
finding new
layer
things.
into finding
thoughts,
something else.
Finding I don't know.
Just finding freshness within it. Anyway,
Yeah.
we get to about. I want to say like
It's the third.
it's
It's
the
the
third
third stanza.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
and then he's coming home late. Or that one.
That
What's
one.
how do you begin that?
Oh yeah.
I
Yep.
said,
I know the one you're talking about.
I go, what? It does come before it.
I'm gonna think myself. See if I
what
can
is
get it.
it?
Try and
We
think.
go, we say.
Wait.
Mm.
So wait, how do you start it?
Then he's trying really hard.
And I'm like,
I'm
okay.
like, okay. Silence.
Oh no.
Silence, pure silence.
Oh no.
And then me in the back, I've decided, you know what? I'm going to yell.
Oh no.
I'm going to yell the lyrics at her.
Yes.
Now, we all know we've got in-ears.
We've got in-ears.
But-
I can't hear anything.
Yeah,
I couldn't hear
yeah.
anything.
The in-ears are like,
I always wondered this.
they're like plugs.
Yes.
Think of them as a bath
'Cause-
plug.
Yeah, yeah.
In your ears.
Yeah.
You can't hear anything.
No.
But I thought, you know what? I'm going to yell it. So I'm like, and then he's coming home late. And I'm like, why have I just done that? She can't hear me. But you've managed.
I don't know how this has happened, but
Yeah.
I tell you that in this moment, what I do know is that, and I had friends in the audience
Oh,
that told me what I was
no.
actually doing.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
what I thought I was doing was I just thought I was like this, and
You
it was
shrunk.
going.
You went all small.
Yeah,
and
in
you
my
went up,
brain, I'm gonna crumple and implode, and I will not be able to continue with the song.
Yeah, right.
And it was just black space, and I was like, and I couldn't tell. I'm like, I don't know what's meant to come out. Don't know where or what's happening. And then eventually I was like, well, I guess I'll just wait for the next section. And then I took a bit of time to think about all of this is happening within 4 bars.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's-
yeah.
it's not well.
It's not a long time.
No.
And I'm thinking, I think I know what's next. I'll just pick that up, I guess.
And you did.
I know I did, and I don't know how. And
That's
then I just came
incredible.
back. My spirit came back to my body.
That's wow.
But yeah, I
And
mean, we can
apparently-
laugh about it now.
I'm
we
kind
laugh
of got
about it now.
anxiety thinking about it.
Oh, yeah.
That's incredible.
These
Oh.
moments happen all the time.
Well,
All
yeah,
the
I
time.
saw an interview with Liev Schreiber talking about it. He
Yeah.
had the exact same thing on Broadway. He just went, just gone.
Gone.
Everything was gone. He walked off stage. He's like, I don't know who I am.
Yeah.
And it just was
Particularly if your job has repetition, which ours
Yeah,
very
yeah,
much
yeah, yeah.
does. Just circuits. What do you call
Incredible.
it?
Short circuit.
Short
Short
circuits.
circuit.
And
Yeah.
that's exactly what happened to me. I've got cursed Saturday matinees, which
gone.
I'm okay with.
Yeah.
Like, you have to be okay with the fact that sometimes things will
It's
go
just
wrong.
gonna happen.
And so, yeah, Kimmy's was that. Then I get to, hold on. You had it bad, but that was not the most heart-wrenching song we've heard this evening. And then Howard says something about, there were 4 choruses. And I'm like, oh, yeah, sorry, so true. When you died, your son had to grow up without a mother. Now, that is,
Yeah.
that's what's meant to happen.
Yeah.
And I've gone, oh, yeah, sorry, so true, your mother grew up without a mother.
So
And I just went,
That's not it.
it's not it. And I also turned to the audience and went,
I mean, it was brilliant.
and I just went, well, I don't know where I am. I don't know what part of the script I'm meant to say next. And everybody help me out, which they did.
Well,
So did you
yeah,
say sorry? Did you
Gab's-
say
Gab's
that
in
word
it.
for word, or is that in the?
No.
That was in the shrug you had. The little.
The little,
That's what you conveyed.
that's what I went. I just went, that's it.
Amazing.
And the audience were like,
What? James lost
and I
the
think
plot.
that, and I think
Jane's
that's what it
gone.
was. It was like, well, Jane's kind of lost the plot anyway by that point.
Yeah,
So
Very much
Kinda
in
works.
the character.
But yeah, it was just, and then like I've had moments where, the choreo, you're meant to go like in 6 for 3 more minutes and just do like a little back. And then you're meant to stay in the line. But I've gone for 3 more minutes and jumped back thinking it was the 2 more minutes choreo, which is when Zelia and I come back and the other two stay forward.
Okay.
So then in this bit, when we're like, we're one of a kind, I'm just hopping forward to get to the line. And I'm just going, this is just too much. Now, Chelsea will say it. She goes, Loren doesn't make mistakes. And I mean, I absolutely do. I make mistakes all the time. I'm a human being.
All the time.
But I will say, in that weekend, was the most mistakes I have ever made in the last 5 years within the show. Because it's just like, it just happens. And I think it also happens when you've done it for so long.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Do you get comfortable? Is that the
No,
word?
and I will say it's not out of me being like, oh yeah, never ever. I will always make certain that I'm listening and things like that. Just happens.
It just happens. You're human. You're a performer.
Yeah. It's like when you have a conversation with your friends, you're like, I just didn't say the right
Yeah,
words.
I don't know what just came out of my mouth.
Exactly.
Or, often I'll say, I heard myself say it as it was coming out. And
Yes.
I'm like, I don't know why I just said that.
Brains are a weird little thing, aren't they?
It's very strange.
They're
but I
so
love it.
complex and they do weird stuff when, cameras are on you.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Well, I think that's a great place to wrap up the
What,
podcast.
this one?
As we go.
And we're hopping forward. Oh,
Hopping
God.
forward, hopping back.
So ashamed.
Oh, I love it. Well, Loren, Kimberley, thank you so much
Of
for
course.
jumping on.
What a
This
pleasure.
has been an absolute treat.
Yeah.
And thank you so much and congrats with the show. You go to, you went
Brizzy.
to Melbourne, so you go to Brizzy and then you're going to Aotearoa as well,
Yes,
New
correct.
Zealand.
Yes.
That's
And
very
then-
exciting.
Yeah, it's very
Very.
exciting.
Yeah.
I've
'cause-
never been before, so I'm
You've never been to New Zealand?
No,
Neither of us have.
Oh,
I'm
you're so
so excited.
Oh, make
Yeah.
sure you get to Queenstown when you're there.
Okay.
Yeah. This isn't pod talk. This is just general and
Yeah.
life advice. Get to Queenstown.
Okay.
It's by far the best city in the
Oh,
country.
beautiful.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Apparently the
Definitely.
fly in to Queensland or Queenstown or
Oh,
fly
it's
out.
stunning.
Yeah,
Oh.
Yeah.
apparently.
Snow.
Yeah.
Oh.
Beautiful.
Yeah, gorgeous.
Yeah.
Apparently beautiful walks there too.
Oh, gorgeous. Stunning. Yeah.
Thanks, Justin.
Thank you so much.
This has been lovely.
And that's Best Bit.
Ciao.